Hello, this is GeoTechland, and today I'll be reviewing the Solus 4.0 Fortitude release. The most notable change that you can see is the theme. So previously it was using the Adapta theme, and now it's using the Plata theme. From what I'm understanding, creator of Adapta now made this Plata theme, which is somewhat similar, at least the little close button here. And overall, I think it looks good. I've actually tried this Plata theme in Manjaro, and it almost seems like the default setup of that Adapta theme has this like purplish text color, and Solus looks like they tweak it a little bit to make it blue. So it's actually a better tweak of that theme there. And usually what I like to do is I always like to enlarge the icons, because these little icons here on the panel are a little bit too small. And while doing that though, you'll get a sense of the theme here. And I usually like to make this about 53 or 54. Yeah, that's about right. Maybe 53. And overall, I think the changes are really good, because this Plata theme has this nice dark color scheme here, but it also looks very modern, and it looks a little bit closer to a Windows 10 experience. And some people may not like that. Some people will though, if you're coming from Windows. I've always said that the sort of start or applications launcher from Linux Mint Cinnamon was the best, and Solus has made some progress because now it looks a lot nicer than it did. This may be a little bit too dark in some cases, like if you're in a really bright light, or there's like a really bright light behind you, it may not look that nice. So they could always get it a little bit more gray, maybe just a little bit, because this sort of pure black does look nice too. I won't really cover too much of the changes here, but this mostly stays somewhat similar. One thing that has changed too is when you right click the apps to pin them to the panel, you have to click a little star here. And it is different from what I'm used to. I probably would prefer pin to panel, or at least rather than favorite, because it's usually like that on a lot of distros and on Windows. And so overall though, with this theme setup, out of all the Windows 10 style desktop environments or layouts, this is one of my favorites. It's probably, and I'm comparing this to like Linux Mint, which had a very Windows 10 like experience, and to Zorin. Actually, Zorin's pretty nice, but I like Solus just a little bit better. And I think Deepin has a style there. I mean, Deepin lets you choose between 3 different ones. So I think Solus implementation, at least theme wise, is the best here. I guess the other things that are new of note, you guys may be interested in the Mesa drivers that it's running, particularly the Solus 4 version here. So it's running Mesa 19.0, which is pretty recent. And then the kernel itself, you can see it's running 4.20. The kernel 5.0 has just released, and so may not be that as recent, but that's all right. Solus would make a nice distro. Solus was at one point one of my favorite distros. It went from being like the second best to maybe 4th or 5th. It was partially due because like the founder of Solus, Aiki, he left the project, and Solus seemed like if it was in disarray, and that was part of why I removed it from my laptop as my main daily driver. The other reasons were mostly because I wanted to use some programs that were only Debian based, like my screenwriting program Fade In Pro, for example. But with this Solus 4 version, now I'm very tempted to put it on my laptop. Since I only use very simple apps on my laptop, that's kind of one of the downsides with Solus, is that because they're not based on any other distribution, they actually have to compile a lot of the software, and they actually do have a good repository programs here. So again, I only really use like 5 to 10 programs like OBS, Kdenlive, and they're all here anyways. And even though there's not many, the ones that are there run pretty well here, and it seemed like the Solus developers do a good job getting that ready. The one thing they could use improvement, especially this being a very newbie friendly OS, is improving the store. And I don't know if they still are working on a newer version of the store. I would imagine so, but they could always use some improvements there, making it easy to find, especially popular programs like OBS. You kind of have to dig through here, going to multimedia, video software, and then kind of this alphabetical list may not be the best, but you could find it, and you have to know exactly how it's named, OBS-Studio, because if you tried searching it, just OBS, it would give you a whole entire list you have to dig through. So the Software Center could use improvements, although this is not really a Solus 4 issue, it's more just a general Solus issue. The other thing I would recommend too, that's also a just general Solus issue, is that updating the kernel is probably not the best, because again, if this is aiming to be for newbies, every time you make an update here, most people are going to want to just update everything, right? And no one's going to really dig and make sure that, especially a newbie's not going to look for the kernel and not update it, because updating the kernel is one of the most things that can kind of break the OS. And so I feel like Solus should adopt Manjaro's approach, where every update will update the current kernel you're using, but if you wanted to switch the kernel, to do it separately, so that more advanced users can kind of set it up that way, or I guess I should say intermediate users. But all in all, I highly recommend using Solus. And if you only really need a few apps and you're never really gonna install anything else other than those apps, then Solus may be a good experience for you. So if you found this video helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.